when should I start investing in my business? But I think that
immediately.
We kind of already covered it too. Your time is an investment.
Yes.
People don't realize your time is such an investment, and as you get busier through your business, I think you start valuing your time even more, because I've been 4 years in my business now, and something that we always talk about is now we're getting to that point where we want to buy our time back. Like, it's not about how much money we make, but now at this point it's like we want more of our time, you know, because that's something that you will never get it back. And I think that the earlier you can learn that within your business, don't get me wrong, at the beginning you're gonna have to hustle to get your name out there, but the more you're gonna realize, like, hey, not everybody is worth you working with, you know, because that could also ruin your reputation. So it's almost like you have to be very, very picky with who you associate yourself with, and realizing that not everybody's meant to be your client. Hello everyone, and welcome back. My name is Jasmine.
My name is Matthew Cohn.
And this is the 1% Better Everyday Podcast, a space for entrepreneurs to learn, connect, and win. So today we are actually filming episode number 30, and we wanted to make it a little bit different. So I thought that it would be a good idea to do like a Q&A regarding just the most important questions when it comes to building your own personal brand, relationships, business, life, just because we talk about so much on this channel. And I think it would be a good idea to compile like the top questions and just give you guys a perspective of like what we would do now 4 years in, or even 5 years in. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we always like to shout out a subscriber. So let me go ahead and shout out this week's person that commented. They actually commented on our last Instagram reel, and the girl was the Southern Lee Social, so that was her handle. And her comment was, facts, the resistance always shows up right before things start to shift. Gotta keep moving through the messy middle. And this is something we actually just talked about in our last episode, where, you know, I think that even in life for entrepreneurs, we want everything to be super, super perfect. And we have to realize that life is not always going to be like that. And I think that it's almost like a natural instinct where we try to control things. And sometimes you would just have to remember that you have to let things go, because you know, you can only control so much. And so we were talking about how sometimes when it gets hard, that's when most people like to give up. And we said, you know, that's when you really should keep going the most, because that's when you're going to get tested and you're going to get challenged, but you're going to learn so much through going through that.
Facts.
But let's get into these questions. Before I pull them up, how was your week? Are you a service-based entrepreneur that provides some kind of service, but you don't know how to create content in order to convert someone from following you into a paying client? I'm going to tell you exactly what to post in order to start generating more leads, attract high-paying clients, and get more DMs than you can possibly answer. I will help you how to find your niche, how to find your target audience, and craft offers that will attract top buyers every time you go to make a post. Text me content to 513-516-7332 to learn more on how you can get mentored by me for only $99 a month.
Week was great. Weekend was amazing.
Oh yeah, what did we do this weekend?
We did a lot. Shopping, golfing, game.
We went to a basketball game.
Yeah.
It was a little bit disappointing at the end, but...
Yeah, that was embarrassing. But, you know.
But it was a fun game. It was a fun game.
That's the thing I noticed, and I was even, when I was at the office today, the 2 empty seats next to us, somebody could have had the tickets. Mm-hmm. Even if they losing, like, I wouldn't give up the opportunity not to be able to go. Like, I noticed that people will have opportunities for themselves, or just being able to be in positions to do stuff that people don't normally do, but they cling on to one negative thing and it ruins their whole experience. So it's like, it sucks, but
yeah. And I mean, that's in anything in life, in entrepreneurship. I think sometimes we kind of harp on the negative things more than we do on the positive things. And I know I kind of do that sometimes, where, you know, somebody could say like a whole conversation about all the positive things that you did, and it's like you only hold on to the negatives, or for some reason you only listen to the negatives. Even this is something that we talk about, where it's like, you know, even in a relationship, it's like they could do so many good things, but you only point out the one thing that they didn't do. So I think it's anything in life, like it's all your perspective, how you're seeing it. But correct, I'm actually so grateful that I even went, that we were even going to the basketball games, because in Ohio, you said we didn't have a basketball team.
Well, we didn't have a professional basketball team back in Cincinnati. It was just University of Cincinnati, or even then, I could have took advantage of us driving down to Kentucky to go see Devin Booker before he became the Phoenix. But yeah, we didn't have those opportunities to go see a professional basketball team in Cincinnati. And not only that, I was blessed to be able to receive tickets from a company that I do content for. So it all worked out, and just being, again, back to having the opportunity to go, like, we didn't have those type of opportunities to go, so we're going to be joyous and ecstatic, of course, to be able to go to something like that. So
yeah, and I think they're really fun. Like that's something that we kind of talked about a couple episodes ago, is like doing new things and always, you know, getting outside of your comfort zone and outside of your bubble. And I feel like the last couple of weeks we've really been doing that, and it's just been so much fun because, again, I kind of like see the world with like, you know, psychology or marketing perspective, but it's just interesting to one, get to experience new things. But I feel like every place that you go to, you learn something either about yourself, you can apply it to life, you can apply it to entrepreneurship. Like there's always something to learn from every single space and activity. But
yeah, for sure.
anyways, let's get into these questions. So the first question was, how do I know if I'm ready to start a business?
I think the most important thing is understanding that, and business could mean profit, nonprofit too as well. So it's not always about making money. The importance of understanding that you need to have a business is because of the stuff that you're producing or the services you're providing. That's when you understand, like, all right, what the request that I'm receiving is business like, so maybe I should set up a business. Maybe I should actually think about doing this long term, because that's the whole point of setting up a business is, all right, if you know that's something that's profitable or non-profitable, you have a product or a service that you want to create long term or that you want to do for long term, that's when you're like, all right, this needs to be a business.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like you want to find something that people want to demand for, right? Because it's actually something that I was thinking about on the way to the office too when I was driving. And this is where I mean, like sometimes, you know, as a creative or like in life, you get these thoughts and they just come to you randomly. But I was thinking about that on the way to the office today, how a business is really just creating demand. So if you find like in your city or in the market that there's something that people want and need from you, correct, like once you make that decision, hey, maybe this is something I want to do long term, and you want to make some money off of it, you have to decide if that's something that you want to do long term for yourself. Because correct, you could do it for somebody else or another company, but I think that
you don't have to have a business.
Yeah, I think the important that the factor that makes you, one, know that you're ready to start a business is that, one, you know that there's something that people want, and two, you know that you're ready to charge money for. Because even when I talk to my family and I'm like, oh, you should start this as a business, like you said, some people want to do it, but maybe they don't want to charge for it because for some reason they just see it as a hobby, or they just see it as a passion of theirs, or they're like, oh, this is just like a side hustle, or
those folks don't start a business,
or some or some people, and this is why, like I said, that there's so many perspectives on how you can look at it. Because, you know, for some people I've heard it's like they don't want to turn it into a business because that's like their sacred space, like that's like their sacred hobby, like that's like their safe piece.
I think that's bullshit, and I think it's because when you come with business, that means, oh, shit getting serious, and I think people are scared to get serious. I think that's what it is. I understand the keeping the peace and keeping that like to yourself and stuff like that, but I think people be really scared and nervous to actually jump that hurdle.
I think there's some truth to that. I think that, correct, fear holds us back from a lot of decisions because again, this is not us judging anybody, or at least me criticizing anybody, but
I'm judging. This is me judging.
But I've heard the people that don't want to start a business, their number one fear is always, well, it doesn't make any money, or how am I going to make any money, or how am I going to be able to afford it, or they don't even believe in the idea that it could be a business. And that's why I said, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think that the number one way you know you're ready to start a business is when that mindset clicks. And you're like, hey, I want to charge money for this. Because a lot of, like I said...
That's what I'm saying. It don't have to be charging money, though. It's just...
But there can be a handful of people that just do something and they don't want to charge money. And they just want to do it as a hobby.
To me, at the end of the day, is...
That's not a business.
Exactly what you said is, do I want to do this long term? Do I see myself doing this long term? That's when the switch is like, all right, cool.
But correct, not always about profitability, but you want to do it for yourself to generate money for yourself.
Not necessarily, no.
Because you're not ready to start, then you're not ready to start a business then if you know you want to do something long term, but you want to work with somebody else.
Exactly. That's perfectly fine. Remember that, what she just said.
But that doesn't answer the question.
No, that does answer the question. That absolutely does. Because that's going to determine whether or not you do or not. Because if you want to do it long term, but you want to work for somebody else, or you want to keep it as a side hustle or a little hobby, don't start a business. Like keep it low level, keep it chill, keep it they say.
That actually takes us what?
What's that called?
Well, that's a really good transition to the next question. The next question was, how do I choose the right business? Or sorry. The next question was, what are the first steps to launching a business with little to no money? Creating a social media. Create a Facebook, create an Instagram.
If I would start over, it would be getting my LLC, tax ID, and business bank account first.
Honestly, we could go all the way back. The first thing that you need to do in order to launch a business with little to no money is figure out, why do you want to launch it? Who is it for? And what is it? Because I think so many people are unclear on that, and they're like, oh, I'm just going to start making cakes and sell it for money. Or I'm just going to start fixing roofs and sell it for money. But who are you selling it to? What exactly are you doing?
Yeah, that comes first. Yeah.
Why do you want to do it?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, but
on the tactical stuff, what did you say? You said LLC. You guys can rewind, but you said LLC and what else?
LLC, tax ID, business.
Yeah. No, if I was being on the analytical and logical, I would say that.
But what you said is super duper important, and I think that actually needs to come first, is because
it's messaging.
Then what's the purpose of even having an LLC? What's the purpose of even having a tax ID? What's the purpose of even having a bank account if you don't know your why?
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, if I know I want to start a business, then I can figure all that shit later. Let's just get the technical stuff down, because I might have somebody that's ready to give me money, and I don't know none of that shit. Because it didn't happen. Like, that's how fast-tracked I was when...
Well, let's stay on that note. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
When 2019 hit over to 2020, and then we had to go home, like, my fast track happened. Me immediately opening up my business to me making money. It didn't take any time.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So I think going back, like, if we really want to go more in depth with this question, what are the first steps to launching a business with little money? Like, just put yourself out there. You know, I think so many people are scared. You know, tell your friends, tell your family. You don't have to have the most perfect, what is it called? Like, payment processing. You know, take what is it called? Why am I forgetting my words? Cash App, take Zelle, take Venmo. You know, don't be scared, because I think at the beginning, so many people are scared. They're like, oh, what if I do this wrong? What if I do that wrong? Literally just go for it and try it, and then, learn as you fail.
I mean, technically that's right. Like, I would say the first, what I told y'all is what you're technically supposed to do, but the first thing that I did was I immediately started marketing my services.
Yeah.
Business. That was the first.
You started telling your connections, your friends, your family.
So,
hey, if you need graphic design, hey, if you need this. So word of mouth.
I was passing out
Word of mouth
cards,
is everything.
like,
honestly, that's like the number one thing, because I remember actually years and years ago when my mom started cleaning houses, I was doing marketing back then.
I was doing stuff for free.
I made her first business cards on the iPad. And I didn't know anything about, I think I made them on an Excel sheet. Matt, I need your help growing my social media audience.
All right, guys, if you need help growing your social media audience, make sure you text 602-390-7002. Once again, it's 602-390-7002.
And I got those printed. That's crazy. But I remember this was like years and years ago. That was like in 2014, 2015. And we got them printed at Staples. And then we would just go around and put business cards in people's mailboxes.
Everywhere,
Yeah. So it goes back to word of mouth, and friends and family is everything. And sometimes you just have to tell people, hey, this is what I do. Hey, how can I help you? And is there a way that you can pay me for this? Yeah. You know, think about like when people used to go, what is it called? Like snow shoveling and
not door
cutting
knocking.
People's grass, you know?
That was literally
bring back salespeople.
Nah, I think
That
they're trying to get rid of salespeople at this moment. But that was probably my first like job was door knocking. Because when we had a shovel and I would get salt, I would go around and knock on doors. And do I would go to my grandmother's neighborhood too, because my grandmother's neighborhood was all houses. So I would do hers, and I would of course I'm not paying my grandma not paying me for that. She made my ass come over there and do that shit. So I'm over here shoveling. But I was like, yo, I would knock on the door and be like, yo, I just took care of Judy Cohn's yard. Like I'm charging $20 a pop. But that's crazy, because now that I'm around a lot of door knockers, I realized, like, damn, that was, like, one of my first, like, making money.
I was going to say, I think my first real making money without my parents and anything was those magazines. Do you guys remember those magazines where you used to sell things? I used to sell gift wrap. Like, it was, like, you could sell gift wrapped and candles. So there was this magazine that they gave you in school. And whichever kid sold the most got, like, a gift or, like, a stupid prize. It was
like the candy shit?
Yeah. So
sell the most candy
the
bars.
magazine would always have like gift wrapping paper for Christmas, candles, and you know all the white people used to buy that. So I would go around the neighborhood and
just like so did y'all ever have candy bar sales?
No, we had the magazine.
See, our school had candy bar sales.
We had the magazine.
We would have the magazine, right? But it would have like candy bars. It would have like
it had chocolates.
And
yeah,
all the
it had
snacks
chocolates.
In there. And then we would send it home to see how many sign-ups we can get, how much
money. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay, how much time do we got? What's the next question?
We're on 3 or 4.
Well, we're on 3.
Okay.
Yeah, we're on 3. So the next one was, how do I deal with self-doubt and imposter syndrome?
Easy.
Imposter syndrome.
Easy. Just go out. What happens is we have self-doubt because we haven't accomplished anything.
And you just made a reel about it.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, go to my
comparison is the thief of joy.
Comparison is the thief of joy. But anyway.
So correct. Going back to your point, and sorry to cut you off, I think that correct. Sometimes we feel like that because we haven't done anything.
We haven't done shit.
Until you get practice.
I ain't been successful.
Until you get practice and you get some reps in, that's when you can start seeing your wins. And a good way that I got over that was a friend told me, in your note sheet, make a brag sheet. And on that brag sheet, every single time that you do something that you're proud of yourself, that you do something that you're like, you know, that was a huge accomplishment for you, write it down on your brag sheet. And then that way, over time, you won't feel like that anymore because competence leads to confidence.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, when you in business, there's so many negative things that happen. You gotta rack up your W's. Like, you gotta have more W's in a day. Like, you have every single thing that you write on the list, you gotta make as a big W, because that's how, as business owners, we get through the day, because so much shit be happening to us that you don't want to get down on yourself because of the L's that you take consistently. Like, it's going to happen. Like, I take L's every single day. I'm like, damn, I lost money out on this, or damn, I lost opportunity with that client, or damn, I didn't pay that bill. Like, you take so many L's as a business owner every single day that it's important to rack up your W's. So you waking up in the morning, you doing whatever type of morning routine, you posting on social media, you going to the gym, like, throughout the day, just make sure you were racking up big W's so you can feel proud of yourself. And then that's when your confidence comes in, and then you're not afraid to deal with anything anymore.
And you just dropped a bar. But the next question is, well, the next 2 questions are kind of the same, and I wanted to answer it. We kind of already did answer it. But it said, how can I get my first paying clients? what's the best way to market my business with a small budget, and basically how do I stand out in a crowded market.
Easy. What we say? Outreach and social media. So let's start with
Tell
outreach,
people
right?
about yourself.
Tell people about yourself. Most importantly, right, since I started with graphic design, I would talk to people that needed a graphic designer, which is super duper important. So say if you're a masseuse, I would get in contact with people that are busy people that need massages. Let's say, for example, you sell plants. Like, you connect with people that love plants. You start to have conversations with people that love plants. You're a painter, connect with people that need painters, such as residential, commercial, artistry. Like, you gotta connect with the people that need you.
Yeah, correct. And how do I stand out in a crowded market? I would say, going back to being authentic, going back to being transparent, going back to being yourself. I think that's what's missing in today's generation, just because something that we talked about is that everybody wants to be like everybody else. It's almost like everybody sees like this shiny new object, or they see like this other big company doing something, and they're like, oh, I want to do it like them too, which, don't get me wrong, like, you can recreate some of the creative aspectness, but I think the thing that's always going to separate you from everybody else, is just being yourself and showing your personality, because people want to work with the person behind the brand, which is something that we always talked about.
Yep, facts. Yeah, it's just being super authentic, being yourself, and showing up consistently as yourself as well, because like you talked earlier about imposter syndrome, which is super duper important. That's why subconsciously, consciously, I don't watch a lot of people's content, because for my profession is I listen to people talk every single day, so I'm always editing something, so I'm constantly just listening to people talk, and I can't watch other people's content because I can't focus on the shit that I need to be editing throughout the week, and that's super duper important. That's why I stay on Twitter, because Twitter is just funny.
And the next question was, when should I start investing in my business? But I think that
Immediately.
we kind of already covered it too. Your time is an investment.
Yes.
People don't realize your time is such an investment. And as you get busier through your business, I think you start valuing your time even more, because I've been 4 years in my business now. And something that we always talk about is now we're getting to that point where we want to buy our time back. Like, it's not about how much money we make, but now at this point, it's like we want more of our time, because that's something that you will never get it back. And I think that the earlier you can learn that within your business, don't get me wrong, at the beginning, you're going to have to hustle to get your name out there. But the more you're going to realize, like, hey, not everybody is worth you working with, because that could also ruin your reputation. So it's almost like you have to be very, very picky with who you associate yourself with, and realizing that not everybody's meant to be your client.
Yeah, realistically, when I started my business, for at least 2 years, I was putting up 12-hour days every single day. And people don't realize that, like, especially if you want to take it serious. And again, we talked about longevity at the beginning of the episode. If you want to last for a long time, when I was first starting, I would work my 9 to 5, do my family shit, and put in at least 2 hours into my business. And I had a friend back home that I would tell this to him all the time, because this is what he was trying to achieve, right? But this is the amount of effort that he was putting in to what he was trying to achieve. And I would ask him, like, hey, how many hours are you putting in a day on this? Well, I did this, and I'm like, okay. Excuse me. How many hours a day did you do this? Well, not a lot. And I'm like, all right, well, my journey and your journey is 2 different journeys, because every day I put in this amount of hours. You don't put in nothing. So you can't achieve this goal if you don't put no hours in. We've done our 1,000 hours.
Yeah, and I think that's a whole nother episode, because not to get on that topic, but and I know this is gonna be so controversial, but so many people like to criticize or even judge Kim Kardashian. And don't get me wrong, like, your family can help you out and get you through wealth for so much. But what about the work ethic? It's like, you can't just make up somebody's work ethic. And I think people forget about that. And that's a whole episode in itself. But people think that just because you can be born into money, you can keep the money. It's a whole job
Yeah.
just to keep the money.
Shout out to
So,
Kim Kardashian.
yeah, don't
Shout out to
forget.
Kris Jenner.
Yeah, don't forget that, like, yes, you want to start your business, but like let's be realistic sometimes. And if you want more out of your business, then you're just gonna have to put in more hours at the beginning, and that's just a fact. Because you have to build your name out there, especially when you're starting from nothing. But I think we are running out of time, so we're just going to go ahead and answer one last question. And the last question was, what's the best way to manage, because this is a good one, what's the best way to manage cash flow and avoid financial mistakes?
Well, first things first is track everything. Just track everything you can. Like, that's how we've been able to successfully be in where we're at right now. We track everything. Like, we track what we spend, we track how much we make, we know how much we got to make in order to achieve this goal. Like, we track everything. So
yeah, I agree. I would say be very organized with your finances. Like, the first thing that we started doing, going back to tracking, you would write everything down in your notebook. I wouldn't put it on a notebook. I think that I started using my Square app right away just because I'm a digital girl. But whatever way is easier for you, you were still taking
I remember back in
payments, but
Cincinnati, we would, like, monthly in our notebooks. All right, what day does our bills due on? Okay, how much money I'm making this day? Then how much can I? And I remember teaching you splitting payments. Like, I remember that was your first. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah.
Like, don't put all of your money on one thing. Like, split it up. Like, being able to do that. Like, we consciously think about this stuff ahead of time, so that way we are on top of whatever we need to be on top of and being organized. Like, we wouldn't have made it here to where we are if we were not organized with our shit.
Yeah.
Like, we still got levels to go, and you can always get better, but even then, like, so much more better than what we was. Of course, we're making more money as well, but
we got to be more organized. But yeah, I would just say keeping track of, like, how much you're spending, how much you're making per month, how much are you spending on your business in order to make money. I think, like you said, staying organized, because if not, if you let it build up, because I had to do this with you, but there would be some months where I wouldn't update his revenue, and then the next month when you have to catch up, and that's a lot of dates, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of things that you have to go back and check. So I would say, do it from the beginning. It might be time consuming, but you're doing it for your future self. So
I just flashed my nipple.
Huh?
I just flashed my nipple on accident.
Oh. Well, that is it for today's episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave us down below your questions. What do you guys want us to answer next? I feel like we, touched a lot of important topics, but obviously we couldn't get through all of the questions, so maybe we will make a part 2. But also don't forget that if you guys need extra help and extra support, you guys can join our mentorship program, Social Strategy Society, for $99 a month. It is a content mentorship program where we have weekly calls with you guys. You guys get the replays, you guys get freebies, you guys get resources of everything that it took us 4 years to learn in our entrepreneurship journey, from marketing, sales, customer service, operations, you name it. We have resources for everything. So the link will be down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, you guys.